from Embrace the Power and Aspire to Inspire. Today we have Zandra Jo Galvan, all the way from California. She's the superintendent at Greenfield Union School District. And me and my boy Mike G want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
All right,
thank you.
So you're the first school superintendent we've had on our show. And so we want to talk about some of the key things and challenges that you have faced during this epidemic, pre-epidemic, post-epidemic year. So, the last 2 years, the schools have been challenged with a lot of things since COVID. So my question to you is welcome to the show. And then naturally, I have a couple questions for you, like where are you from originally? And you're in California. And what's it like being a superintendent? And then let's go into some of the challenges you have faced in the last 2 years, because there have been some challenges. So welcome to the show.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Vince. Proud, honored to be here. Mike as well. So sure. So I'm a superintendent for 5 years in. I happen to be the superintendent of the school district where I grew up. So I was that little girl in the classrooms that I now get to lead and role model for, that anything's possible if you dream big, right? Rewind to how did I get to Monterey County, California, is my parents. My folks were born and raised in West Texas. My grandparents from Mexico, my parents there in Texas, my brother and sister all born over there. And then they came out to California. And so I was born out here, always been a Cali girl, but just wanting to honor and lift up our family, lifting up the kids and all those that I have the honor and privilege to serve as the superintendent. And so talking about this year and last year, all right, so March 13th, it was a Friday. We'll never, ever forget it, because that's when we went on lockdown. Everyone, we came in and we're like, shoot, there's something coming in, in our state, in our county. And they just said, yep, no more school. We're going to have to shut it down. So figure it out. So I said, shoot. So everybody kind of just rallied together. Me and my Sups sisters and brothers out here in Monterey County, and we just tried to figure out how are we going to navigate these waters. And so for me, what's really a huge indicator and just for leadership is being authentic and also being just real with my people. And so I am big on labor. And California is a huge labor state with our unions, with our teachers unions and our classified unions. But that's all right, because I walk arm in arm with them. We go in everything together. And so with their support, with our community support, our parents' support, we've been able to navigate this pandemic. It's been a cruel thing, but it has definitely brought us all together.
Awesome. So, one thing I'd like to ask you is, as your teachers had to go through transitions, and I work in the school district, but hey, I'm talking about yours today, is that we had a lot of teachers that were from the past, old school brick and mortar paper. So as you transition, it became a chess game. How did you deal with having to make that transition to hybrid teaching? And you're the superintendent, so we're talking the whole school district. So that's a mammoth task. So Zandra, what did you really do as you had to think this out? Did you have a plan? Did you lay out a blueprint? I mean, what did you do?
Oh man, so that's one of my proudest moments. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a teacher at heart. I still teach classes to my teachers because I want them to see that the superintendent not only makes big decisions, but she's also a teacher at heart. So I'm on Saturday academies after school. They'll invite me to come on and teach lessons on standards or lessons on engagement or writing, and I'm right there with them, and I'm in classrooms every single day. So they know that I'm all about kids and all about helping support. So here's what we did. We just posed the question, teachers, what do you need? How novel is that? We brought them together. We said, what do you need? And they said, well, Sup, we need some new laptops. These are old. Can we use some of that money coming in to buy us new stuff? I'm like, heck yeah, of course. What do you want? We want MacBooks. I'm like, all right, those are kind of a little bit more expensive than the average, but all right, we got you. So we got them MacBooks, we got them new iPads, we got them screens, headsets. And then they said, well, shoot, now we have the shiny equipment. We need some training on how to deliver. We've never had to engage kids on Zoom while in their house, while navigating with everything else going around them, right? And so they said programming. I said, all right, you got it. So we entered into a contract with a large national organization that started, I think, here in California called Q, Computer Using Educators. And so we engaged in a long-term contract with them. And what we did is we said, our teachers need some support with engaging students, with getting on different platforms, different learning management systems. How can you help us? And so we partnered with them. We got our teacher leadership to talk to them and novel, just really ask our teacher teams, what do you need? And so they said, well, we want to know how to, you know, put the lessons on a digital format. We want to know how to engage the students in reading. We want to keep them engaged by like, okay, like simple, super simple, but like Snapchat has a filter where you can put like a cat on your head. That was like the hit with kindergartners. So let me just tell you, that was fun. And teachers didn't know how to put a cat on their head. So I taught them how to put a cat on their head. Hey, that'll engage 5-year-olds. So it's just arm in arm, honestly, like just asking. I don't make any decisions at my desk that I haven't thoughtfully talked through with my stakeholders. That goes a really long way.
So is that what you do all day? You just transform structures to better increase the school systems and stuff like that? Is that correct? So pretty much you just focus on you just making things better.
I just do. I just walk around and live the dream and like bless people. They bless me and they're like, good. Yeah.
That's all right. Okay. What about the Greenfield? Is she part of the Greenfield that we pulled up here? Let's talk about this. There we go. Let's go. Look, you want to explain to this? What's going on with that?
Oh, yes. That's the core of everything that we do. So I told y'all that I'm 5 years in, right? Born and raised there, came back. You know, there was some things I had inherited, that there were some trust issues with all of our teacher teams, our labor teams, and just people not knowing what we were all about. So I had to rebrand together with our school board of trustees, with our teacher teams, our classified staff, and our administrators. And so this right here is a Wordle that is all about our strategic plan. So in year one, I went on a listening campaign and really said, okay, so what are we about? You know, what do we want to be known for? And what's our why? Like, why are we in business? And so here's the other thing that you may not know about Greenfield, but we're 95% unduplicated count of students in poverty. In poverty, 95% of our students come from a home under the threshold of the federal definition of in poverty. And so if we don't do it, no one else can. So I'll be honest with you, I'm breaking kids free from the cycle of poverty every day. So every decision that I make is not only true to me because I grew up in Greenfield, but it's so critical because they need us to empower them and to advocate for them. And they need us to engage our parents who don't know necessarily how to navigate the American school system. So it's our moral, our ethical imperative to do everything that we can to put experiences in front of our kids to make sure that those dreams come true. And I'll tell you, on the back of our business cards, I buy business cards for every single person in our organization, from our cafeteria worker to our librarian to our bus driver to the crossing guard. And on the back of their card, it says, I am an elite team member dedicated to the arduous task of saving students' lives.
Wow, that is awesome. Drop the mic. Well, you hit on a very critical thing in America. Let's talk about education equality, because I think it is one of the things. It is more not about race, but more about social economics these days and status. And so how are you reaching the young men in the schools? Because the Girl Scouts of America in 1983 did a great job of getting girls into science, math, and their drive of getting girls to go to college and be educated. They're the highest number now. But yet we have so many young men right after elementary school who have so many dreams and aspirations, young boys. As soon as they get middle school, we lose them. So are you doing a big program here in Tampa? Is we're trying to actually recruit people of color, males of color, to get back into the school system, but just trying to make sure that we have balanced structure within our school system. So let me hear what you got.
Tons. What do you want to know? All right. So here's what we have. So as I told you, 95% unduplicated count, free and reduced. Well, 98% Latino. I'm a proud Latina. My parents of Mexican-American descent. I'm a brown girl. And right now, currently, actually, I would love for the listeners to join us on our Brown Girls Book Club. I'm gonna plug that first. So there's this awesome author from Nicaragua who wrote a book. It says, Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts. We are like no other. We are passionate women, people. And so first of all, my brown girls. And so every Monday from 3:30 to 5, you can get on my social media, on Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Facebook, and it's all on there. And we have 250 ladies and gentlemen, because we want our brothers, our co-conspirators to join us nationally joining us for this book chat. And we're talking about things like intersectionality, imposter syndrome, colorism. Yes, I am a light-skinned Latina, therefore I have privilege, but I am careful with my privilege because my darker-skinned Latinas don't have the same level of privilege. Now I'm talking about Latinx people. Now let's talk about our African-American brothers and sisters as well, right? Same thing, colorism. And so what we do in Greenfield, and we have really transformed the model. So I told you I grew up there. I was also a teacher there for my very first teaching assignment. And this was in 1993. I know I look like I'm 21. Boys, I know. But here's the thing. Back in the day, I was one of only 2 Latinos on that school staff. It's the same community. I came back and taught in Greenfield, where we still had 95% to 98% Latinos, but we only had 2 on my faculty. That has flipped. That has completely flipped. I wish I had my statistics in front of you, but we have overwhelmingly people of color in classrooms teaching our students, both ladies. We have so many Latina teachers that have now come back because they're homegrown. And here's the other thing that you need to know about Latinos. We are a familial culture. We go away, but we come back because it's all about family and that network. And so many of my teachers are homegrown, just like right here, the mama bear of all these, and we are Bear Nation. We're all mascots for bears, I know, but they do come back. Now let's talk about our boys. Our boys need male role models, and they need people who look like them. Now, my heart is all means all. I love all kids. I love all colors, shapes, and sizes. I love them, love them, love them. But let's just be honest. Kids don't start at the same starting line when they get into school. We have students in poverty. We have students that need some advocacy. We have students with some deficits because they haven't necessarily navigated the American school system the same as our dominant culture counterparts, right? And so with that, I have to do extra, which leads me to one more thing that I want to tell you. I am also the president of the California Latino Superintendent and Administrative Organization. That's called CALSA. You can say it with me, boys. CALSA. It's a little sassy. But I am the president of that organization. And so I get to not only represent my fabulous Greenfield School District, but I also get to represent a California organization that uplifts, looks for people of color that represent our Latinx community. Our mission and our vision is to put more Latinx administrators in positions of influence to help support, and also to help support our Latinx population of students. Okay, go ahead. No, just kidding.
No, let me say something real quick. That was Phil. I told you were a busy person. Look at that. She kept up putting a layer on a layer. You just made a whole cake. No, that sounds good. And I'm glad because I'm Latino too. Just so you know, yo soy de Santo Domingo, but I'm Dominican roots.
Latino,
you know?
Latino.
So it feels good. It feels good that you're on it on the West Coast, fulfilling the Latino as a community, as a team, and in full force. You know, I want to say take my hat off to you on that one. So I appreciate that. And Vince, anything?
Oh yeah, always. I have been very conscious about being an African-American teacher in school and making sure that I am balanced in my class, that everyone understands that everybody plays a unique role in America because America is a melting pot. And that is the one thing that I love hearing what you're doing, is because it is at some point people have to have role models. And then when I was in the military 30 years, that was a critical thing of having a role model. And I used to tell my mom this all the time. I said, if more young African-American males had role models like there were back in the 60s, like the Martin Luther Kings and the ones that were actually, you know, trying to make a difference, we would not have so many incarcerated. I believe in more graduation and less incarcerations. I really do. And so I really applaud everything you're doing, and you're setting the foundation. So the one thing I would like to ask you about, though, is in the community that you're trying to grow this, because it's just not a school thing. How are you impacting the community around you? Because you're the superintendent. So you're seeing the strategic, the big picture of how are you trying to make sure you navigate students from bad habits back to good habits and back to getting education, Zandra. So let me hear that.
All right. So it's parents as partners, honestly. Like parents as our partners in our community organizations is the way to inclusively grow an organization that everyone has a stake in, right? So just yesterday, I have every month we have a community collaborative, which we meet at lunch and we bring in all kinds of partners from different sectors. We bring in, and we're not far from Silicon Valley and Google. So Apple is one of our partners. So they come on in, Google comes on in. We have our churches there. We have our fire department, our police department, our social services, social workers, health departments, our universities. Right here by us, we have a local community college that, my alma mater, Hartnell College, also CSUMB, Monterey Bay University, UC Santa Cruz, and they all come together. They came in person prior to the pandemic. Now we have them on Zoom for a little bit, just for safety reasons, but we all come together and engage once a month. And what do we talk about? Our vision is, how do we grow a better, healthy, educated, informed community of learners? And so what happens in those meetings is people network. They're like, oh, wait, you have an awesome program. You've got this grant. Awesome. You want to come on in and there's a project called Blue Zones. It's a worldwide project. I don't know if you heard of Blue Zones project. Is all about healthy living, about some like 9 core values about just making sure people take care of themselves. The organization takes care of themselves, because if people don't take care of themselves, nobody else is going to take care of you. And we are programmed to work ourselves into the ground. Like we grind, teachers grind every day. We grind every day. And so if we don't pause and like take a moment for ourselves, we're not going to be able to serve those that we love most. And so projects like that allow us to collaborate and do things all the way down to our kids. Started fitness classes. So I'm big on self-care, and I love fitness. Every day I'm doing something with Zumba or steps, and it's part of that Fit Leader, national challenge as well. But I asked my teachers and my staff, I said, what do you need? Like, what do you need to like pause? And like, I see you, like, I know you're working, like, how's your family? How are you doing? Like, first time I go into the classrooms, I don't say, and I'm good with lessons. Let me tell you, I'm all about curriculum and instruction, and that stuff makes me drool. But when I get into the classroom, my first question is, how are you? How's your family? How are the kids? Because that just keeps it real. People who are valued and know that their soup loves on them will do extra any day of the week because of that extra step to make sure they're okay.
Well, you missed your calling because you should have been in the military as a general, because you hit all the key attributes of a great leader. You did. And I'm just
who says
I'm
not? I could just be General Galvan. You can call me General.
That's right, General Galvan. How are you doing? All right, so what I need, though, is you put out some information about Twitter. What is your Twitter handle? Because we need to hear it. So go ahead and give us your Twitter handle. So if anybody watches this, they go, oh, okay, that's the Twitter handle.
That's right, at ZJ Galvan. So it's ZJ Galvan.
All right, and so you guys got it out there when you watch the show. Now, before we wrap up and get moving on here, with a couple things I do want to ask you. What legacy and what imprint in history do you want to leave as you go forward? Because this time, I'm 56 years old, so I got less years in front of me than I do, and a lot behind me. So what do you want to leave as the superintendent as you go forward, which you still got a lot of time, but we all think about what our legacy is. So what do you want your legacy to be, Zandra?
Ooh, I just, people leave footprints. I want to leave heart prints. Like, honestly, I just want to leave a heart print on everybody that I interact with. I want to leave them better than I found them. I'm high energy, high just on loving everybody. I hug people, I embrace them, part of my culture, but also I want them to know that I cared about them and that I want to leave that door open for future girls that just look like me, like little Latinas who see the superintendent walking around. I never knew who my soup was. My girls know, my boys know who the soup is in our district. And so that in itself is just, I want them to know that if you can dream it, you can become it, because I'm evidence that it happened to a little girl in the small town of Greenfield that had big dreams.
Well, you took the first page from Colin Powell, General Colin Powell, bless his soul, because he says a commander that doesn't know what's going on doesn't have, if your troops aren't bringing you problems, then you're not commanding, and you are definitely commanding. So, Mike, do you have anything for Ms. Z before we get out of here?
Sandra, it's a pleasure meeting you. You are doing your thing. and it's nice. It's nice to see a Latin community and everything just blowing up. You know, that's nice. I'm not from the West Coast, but I've been there. It's big. It's a big place.
Well, Mike, anytime you want to come out here to California, you know who the CALSA president is, and we do it right with mariachi and other things.
Tequila and everything. That's what I'm talking about.
I wasn't going to say it, but you said it.
I said it. I'll take the rap.
There it is.
Pleasure meeting you. Pleasure meeting you.
Honor to meet both of you.
Thank you.
Hey, all right. I love it. Hey, see, you know, the good thing is that, you know, we're just shaping the world and keep making positive impacts. And that's what you're doing. The only thing I will ever ask you to do is that, you know what, you keep paying it forward. And the more kids that we get to pay it for because of you. And thank you for your service and everything you're doing, Z. And I appreciate you getting on Coastal Connection and Embrace the Power and just gracing us with so much great knowledge. And as we always say on our show, keep it rolling.